Pour your hand for South Australia. All the way you're rolling King. All the way you'll hear me sing. Pour your hand for South Australia.
There we go. Suzie, really nice to see you. Thank you so much for joining me this evening.
Nice to be here.
Yes. Well, for anyone who doesn't know, Suzie is well, actually, Suzie, why don't you introduce yourself? I mean, I'm sure.
Okay. Oh gosh, what am I? I'm a person that wears many hats. I originally was a dance practitioner and performer, and now I've sort of branched partly into partnership development work and strategic work for culture. Yeah, so that's me in a nutshell.
Love it. Thank you so much. So the question that we quite like to open with, I think it's quite a nice little scene setter for the podcast, is so obviously we had a meeting quite some time ago. I think it was Christmas the last time we had a proper chat. If we were meeting today in person, where would we be and what would we be up to as we're having our chat?
Well, if it wasn't raining so much at the moment, we would definitely be outside.
Yeah, definitely.
We'd probably be having a coffee in hand, sat at Sunny Corner near Boston Park somewhere in Truro, or in the woods somewhere like Idlis Woods or somewhere like that, I reckon.
Or maybe we could go on the fairy walk.
Yes, we could go.
There we are.
Going
on the fairy walk, which is the Coosbean Greenway, for anyone who doesn't know. We've done a little bit of work down there, which is lovely. And yeah, I think having a coffee and going for a walk and a talk sounds like the perfect meeting.
I like to be outdoors as much as I can, away from these screens.
Yeah, I understand that completely. So tell us a little bit about your work with Tyller A Nerth and what that's all about, if people haven't heard about it before.
Of course. So the Arts Council set up something a couple of years ago called the Cultural Compact Scheme, and Cornwall were lucky enough to get an allocation to build a compact. Truro was picked and selected, and Tyller A Nerth is the name that has been given to our particular cultural compact, and it means a place of energy, which is sort of really important for Truro. To be able to sort of have a sense of motion and movement and people and sort of fun and life and all of those things are sort of really integral to what we want to be able to organise for the cultural infrastructure of Truro. And my job as a coordinator is to bring all the cultural partners and different cross-sector partners together in Truro to talk and make plans and do things together. Mostly I sort of see myself as sort of a spider in a web, so I'm there sort of connecting everybody together.
Yeah.
And sort of getting everyone to talk to each other and find different ways that we can join up and layer activity and layer resources mostly.
Brilliant.
So Tyller A Nerth is here for the long term, but it's supported at the moment across the last 2 years by Arts Council, Truro City Council and Cornwall Council to get things up and running and to formalise a board and to start to make an impact.
That's amazing. And so what sort of work could we expect to see from Tyller A Nerth?
Okay, so we are going to be currently writing a cultural strategy for Truro, and that's going to be out in September. So we spent the last year really listening and carefully talking to everybody about what we think is important. And then this year's about sort of building some really exciting ambition and long-term plans for the cultural infrastructure of Truro. So part of that is working with the Town Deal Board and also working with key cultural venues like the museum and like Call for Cornwall, as well as people like Visit Truro, Visit Cornwall, Truro Bid, etc., to make sure that it works for everybody, and that as well as the high streets being offered cultural activities right in the middle, we're also looking at sort of long-term plans for redevelopment and housing and the cultural activities around housing and the sort of parks as well, like we've been doing with the Coosbean anyway. So you'll see lots of plans in there for the next 10 to 20 years. You'll also might have spotted some very small pilot projects that we did last year, and they were mostly with community groups and community sort of touch points to find out what was most important to them really during lockdown. And a lot of those pilot projects, working with artists and people like yourself and community development officers, etc., has informed what we're looking at sort of as the key cultural ambitions for the city moving forwards. So we've got the cultural strategy going, and then you'll probably see articles and all sorts of things pop up soon about other projects that we're partnered with, in particular community activities and centres and all sorts of things like that.
Only a small job then.
Just a small, just 2 days a week.
That sounds absolutely amazing though, because I mean, the culture, especially in Cornwall City, is so important, isn't it, for the life and the heart of the place itself.
That's exactly it. I mean, that's our motto is the heartbeat of Truro. Yeah. Culture is the heartbeat of our city, so it's really important that it's considered in all areas, transport, planning, health. It's the glue that sticks things together, and it's the sort of it's the circulatory system of our city. It has to be pumping, it has to be working right.
Yeah, of course.
Everything. So just like the rivers do in Truro, it's really a metaphor for that, isn't it?
Flows right through.
It is. And coming from sort of being a teacher first off, being a dance teacher first off, I just know how important it is, within education, but within a community, that creative arts and that sport and culture is part and parcel of how we live our lives. So it's a very, very sort of it's an honour to be able to do it, really, and to be able to make some of these things happen.
Definitely, and I think that's where the work that we've done together, certainly, and obviously the other stuff, it feels so alive. Even when you're in planning stages and certain things have happened and things like that, there's just that amazing buzz that you get from creating something cultural.
Yeah, bringing people together,
definitely.
It feels like, especially at the moment, there is a real buzz around Truro. Like there's some really exciting plans coming together, and sort of around the connectors as well in and out of Truro. I think that it's a really exciting time to be working in culture and in the arts. I know it's been really difficult, but there's an understanding at the moment between all the partners that it's important, and that everybody needs to be in part of those conversations. You even take the creative manifesto that Cornwall Council have just written. That's a really exciting piece of work, and a lot of what we both understand is important and written into that. So it's a good time, and it is a great time. Feels like we're opening up a space for sort of new possibilities and new ways of living and working. And in some ways the lockdown was really difficult for us all to live through, and it was very difficult to try and get a cultural compact going, if I'm honest. During lockdown. Building partnerships and meeting people and talking to people was quite a test, but what it has done is it's almost set up a sort of a clean slate, a sort of a new space of possibility where we've been able to go, okay, well, if we wanted to reshape things,
then how could we do it?
How can we do it? It's giving people some time and space to think about that, and that's just like priceless. So it does feel exciting. It feels like people are thinking a bit differently and working a bit differently. Well,
funnily enough, this kind of leads on nicely to the next question, which is a little bit more about your work as a dancer. So your work does seem to concentrate quite a lot, especially I know the stuff that you did during lockdown. It seems to concentrate a lot on physical theatre and dance. So what is it that you really adore about that form of storytelling that you create?
For me, I like to be able to feel something when I'm watching a performance, and it doesn't have to be dance. It could be a piece of music. I love going to gigs. It could be an amazing piece of theatre or an art installation. I have to feel something. for me, moving and creating a sensation or representing a sensation back to somebody is the closest way I can do that.
Sure.
So I have to connect with the audience. I want to see your face. I want to create a response, and often the parts that I get given are ones that work really closely with an audience, very close up, like the work I've done with Seascape. You know, I've been sort of leading them and guiding them and causing all sorts of mischief with the audience often. Or I'm inviting a massive audience to a massive full cast of people at Will Martin or something. So often the work that I perform or the work that I make is about getting people to feel something tangible and seeing something and being right in the middle of an outdoor space and understanding and connecting between the performer and the mover. So dance and physical theatre is just the way that I've been able to do that the best, really.
Brilliant. God, you're giving me goosebumps.
Yeah, that's what we want.
But of course, it obviously what you were saying then, it's been so hard during lockdown to create that tangible people in a room sort of thing. So I know obviously you did, was it Dance in Your Street?
Yeah.
Which was an absolute delight to watch. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I live with my partner Rob, and he's also a dancer, so we were very lucky that we were able to make and create something during lockdown together, even if it was in our very small living room in the garden, and as well as movement having to mean something to me, I often feel like it has to mean something to the people that are watching it. It can't just be about anything. It has to be relevant. And I love stories, and I love being able to build a relationship with whoever the audience are. You know, they are your customers. They are important. So when we decided to do something for our local village in Grandpound Road, it was really about spreading some joy. And then they ended up sort of telling us what they might like us to create the pieces about, or what kind of feeling they'd like us to recreate. And some of it we ended up making. We probably wouldn't have made it if they hadn't suggested. I don't think get Rob to have done a Lindy Hop duet with me had it not been the villagers that said, can you please do this? So it all came from them, and that was what was lovely about it. And we ended up doing maybe 12 performances of the piece each night that we did it. And we were just basically walking around the village and performing in every cul-de-sac and street. Brilliant. People were coming out and seeing us, and it was so nice. And out of that, we didn't expect it, but out of that spurred on quite a lot of people trying out the same thing, and they're continuing to do it now. And we ended up then being asked by Knee High to do something similar for Charlestown, which is just as part of their random acts of art. So it sort of created this monster, but really out of just the want to do something great for our local village. The only way that we could offer something in lockdown was to perform something, but it's meant that artists have been valued as part of the community. Exactly. It really, isn't it?
And that's exactly what Tyller A Nerth is aiming to do. And that's just, and I think that's so, it's really humbling, isn't it, as an artist, to get to create work, especially work that has almost been asked for by the audience. And obviously what's lovely, especially with that project then, is that you still got to do what you wanted to do. You still had those audiences kind of wrangling with the tangible, just the new tangible, what with everything that the world threw at us, and you were still able to shape it with them.
Yeah, definitely. I'm a big believer in possibility thinking, and when I was a teacher, and as I'm a practicing sort of researcher and maker, that's how I start. It's not what don't we have, it's what have we got and what can we do with it. And often that's part of you thinking about who you're going to be performing to, or who you're going to be making it for. And if you start there, it's always authentic, and it's always connected to that place and that moment in time, and it's real. And that's I think it links up all of my work, really, whether I'm thinking about a performance in my local village or building a cultural strategy for Truro. It's about what can we do with this, what what are the endless possibilities?
Yeah.
Let's think differently, and let's think big, or let's think tiny. But
Yeah.
That's how I feel. It's relevant then, and it means something to me and the people that I'm working with if
Sure.
you work in that way.
Yeah. So again, this leads on quite nicely then. So what would you say is your top bit of advice for a creative in Cornwall today?
Yeah. Oh gosh. Okay.
I know it's a big question.
It is, isn't it? I do think that it's about using your innate ability to think differently and think outside the box. That can bring you on all sorts of different journeys. I think you can just go with that flow, just enjoy where those possibilities take you, and don't be too concerned about whether it's the right journey or it's the journey that somebody else has done before you. In Cornwall, we're so great at taking our own sort of route and being distinctive in that way, and it's what makes us so fantastic in this lockdown. It's how South West have led the whole country. You know, everyone now is making it work for the outdoors, and Cornwall are like, well, we've been doing that for decades actually. Come and learn how to do it.
Come on down and we'll teach you a thing or two.
Exactly. So my advice would be to go back to the bare bones of what is it that's special about this moment. What could we possibly do with all the things that we've got to hand, and how can we break the rules a little bit? And I'm a meddler really, and that's
the master of mischief.
The master of mischief and meddling. I like to meddle in the middle. So my advice would be just to meddle with the skills that you've got and have some fun really.
I think that is an absolutely wonderful bit of advice for anyone out there. So final question then. What is it? I'm gonna change the question a little bit. What is it that you're most excited about? What with the world starting back up, Cornwall coming back to life with people and live events, things like that. What is it that you're most excited about this year?
Oh, okay. Being an advocate for Truro, at least 2 days a week, I am very excited about the live music and events that are going to be running at the pop-up as part of Pop Theatre. I'm very excited about Wildworks coming to Truro for a show in August. That is going to be sensational.
So excited.
I'm very excited about Hall for Cornwall opening in the autumn. That's going to be really great. With my other hats on, and as an individual, I love live music, so I can't wait to go and see some gigs wherever they might be, and hopefully get along to some festivals. I'm also working in my other role at the Barbican Theatre in Plymouth on a show called Petrol Heads this August, which is going to be a mass movement, live DJ and MC sort of spectacle event with modified cars and drift wreck cars and bikes and
oh my god
all sorts of meddling mischief really, which is happening at the end of August, bank holiday weekend, at a speedway on the outskirts of Plymouth. So a really different sort of event, and it's the epitome of the work the Barbican Theatre does and the work that I do there, which is like, what have we got, what can we use, who's up for this? Get them all in the same arena.
Is Alex Harris still doing stuff at the Barbican?
Alex Harris, we support Alex Harris's work a little bit, but she's done so brilliantly in the last, goodness knows how long, the last 10 years, that she's a strength unto her own now. So we do support her. We do support their rehearsal processes and some of their premieres. But
because I worked with her when I was at school. She helped me set up my first social enterprise business, which was a theatre company. And we worked with Alex and we worked with Rogue Theatre. And it's just, honestly, it spurred me on to where we are today, really.
Yeah, the
That's amazing.
Brilliant at talent development work. They're so great. And Beyond Face and the work that you're doing is, a tribute to some of the talent development work that they've done in the past, definitely.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's some great giants that have come out of that.
There's some really exciting stuff, and I mean, God, there's so much more potential now. Now that we're able to go and see people, now that we're able to do things a little bit safer. thank
Yeah.
you so much for speaking with us.
You're
this
welcome.
evening, Suzie. This has been an absolute treat, and I'm sure all of our listeners are going to absolutely love this.
Yeah.
And do keep an eye out for more work from Tyler A Nerth. Truro's near future sounds extremely exciting,
No.
especially from the creative side. So I'm sure there'll be plenty of mischief and meddling going on in the.
Come and join me and
Yeah.
join with some mischief meddling. If you want to find out a little bit more, you can just email me and we'll get plotting. Okay.
Super. What we'll do is we'll make sure that hopefully ways to get hold of you, Suzie, we'll stick in the episode description for this. And once again, thank you so much for joining me this evening. This has been truly wonderful. We'll speak again soon.
Yes, brilliant.